Whether you're brand new to this hobby or you're an old-time collector like me who's got 40 years in, then you all know this story of the SGC 9.5, which sold in 1990 for $50,000 from Mr. Mint. That's right, Alan Rosen, Mr. Mint. And then around 2022-23, it sold for $12.3 million. Now, that's an incredible amount of appreciation and certainly makes the case for why these cards are assets. The problem is, do all cards follow the same trajectory, or do other cards not get worth the same amount over the 40, 50-year time frame, which begs the question, how long should you actually hold on to your cards? And are you holding on too long to cards that are only going to go down in value? So what I want to do is I want to actually show you this card. This is the 1955 Sandy Koufax rookie card. And the reason that I'm showing you this is because it sold in 1990 for around $5,000. And based on the Mantle trajectory, what do you think this card should be worth today? Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. This is EDI Sports Cards and my name is Doc, and we're going to get into this question. How much is this 1955 Topps Sandy Koufax rookie worth? A PSA 10 version. There's only 3 in the world, and based on the trajectory of the Mantle, this card should be worth. But here's the problem. If this card sold in 1990 for $50,000 and is worth around $12 to $13 million in 2023, then what is this card, the 1955 Topps Sandy Koufax rookie, worth today? Now, I'm going to tell you what the answer is, what it was worth back in 1990, and you tell me what you think it's worth today based on Mickey Mantle's trajectory over 50 years. Now, if you want to know how much the PSA 10 Mickey Mantle sold for back in the 90s, then just go and subscribe to my newsletter, High End Cards, and I will show you what all 3 prices were back in the 90s, and then also what this card is estimated to be worth right now. So back in 1990, this card, the PSA 10, sold for around $5,000. And there's only 3 pop count in the world. How much is this 1955 Topps Sandy Koufax rookie worth? A PSA 10 version. There's only 3 in the world, and based on the trajectory of the Mantle, this card should be worth $1.5 million. The problem is that it's not. And that's what I want everybody to start questioning with their collection and when they're going out to buy cards, because if every card doesn't follow the Mickey Mantle trajectory, again, that card basically went up in value around 18 to 19% every single year. So it was worth $50,000 in 1990. Therefore, it's worth around $13 million in 2023. And so today it'd be worth, more than that. And the question becomes, well, how come isn't this Sandy Koufax worth the same amount? Again, in relative value, because Sandy Koufax is just as high demand a card as Mickey Mantle. There's only 3 PSA 10s in the world. There's only 3 PSA 10 52 Mantles. So why isn't every card following the same trajectory? And that's what we're going to actually start talking about on this channel and in this video, because this is where people get themselves into trouble. Now, in the last video I did last week, I talked about the flipping of the hobby. So back in the 90s, the reason why people kind of really got into it was obviously there were more eyeballs and prices did go up, but they didn't go up like ludicrous. Cards were worth, anywhere from $10 to maybe a couple $100 each. And then the very few rare cards like the Sandy Koufax PSA 10 was worth around $5,000. Now, again, back in the 90s, $5,000 was a lot of money, but it also wasn't mortgaging your home. That's the thing that I want people to understand. It wasn't a mortgage. $50,000 for the Mickey Mantle card wasn't a mortgage. It just meant that if you didn't have, like if you weren't rich back then, spending $50,000 on a baseball card was probably a bad idea. And again, I can actually say that with certainty because I was in that dilemma. My father came to me after speaking to Mr. Rosen. Again, this is a receipt for other stuff. Like, so if you want to know what we got a Canseco bat. We've got a Montana football, and we got 2 Nolan Ryan 5,000K. I don't actually know what they were. Something. 5,000K things. I don't remember. We got a bunch of stuff. Anyway, the question is that my father came to me and said, should I buy the 52 Mantle for $52,000? That's what he was offering it for back in 1989, which is when my dad talked to him. And so I had to answer that dilemma. Should you spend $50,000 on a baseball card back in 1989 or 1990? And my answer back then, because $50,000 was way more than my family had to waste, my answer was absolutely not. Do not spend that kind of money. So the question becomes, even though inflation, is an issue today, is how much is too much to spend on a sports card today? And then we'll get into the trajectory of cards going forward, because should you buy a card, like a high-end card today, and then expect in 50 years from now that it will 10x? Because that's literally what happened to the 9.5 SGC Mantle. It was worth $50,000 in 1990, and then it was worth around 12 to 13 million in 2023. That's a huge multiple to increase. Again, you had to wait 40, 50 years to get there, but still, that's a legit investment strategy. The problem is, does that happen with every single card, or are we just kind of chasing after fool's gold? And with the Pac-Man issue that we just had, the break, where they're just trying to pump everybody into these breaks, like, yeah, you're going to get a great deal. Like, the product is selling for $10,000 a box, and we have a 5-break box, and you're only paying $1,000 for the break. That's a bargain. When in fact, all the cards that are in those 5 boxes aren't worth $1,000. And that's the issue. You're spending money on breaks when the cards themselves aren't even worth that money. Yes, the boxes are selling for X amount, but the boxes are not worth what you're paying for. And I don't know how else to explain that to you guys. Here's the best example. This is a 2024 Stadium Club, all right? So this is, how many cards are in here? There are 8 packs. There are 5 trading cards per pack. So there's 40 cards in here. And I'm going to show you, okay? So here is a cello pack. Okay, so there are 29 cards in this cello pack. And this costs $79. Okay, so this is actually 1990, or yeah, I think so. Either 89 or 90. I can't remember the design. So this is 89 or 90. So that's 79 cents for 24 cards. There's only 40 cards in here. Do you know how much this box goes for? It goes for $35. That's just retail. And then on the secondary market, again, depending on who's in it, it could go up to 40 or maybe $50. You got to be kidding me. That's beyond inflation. It's the same amount of cards. This costs 79 cents and this costs what? You're insane. There's nothing in this box that's worth more than this. And that's the problem. So what should this be? What should this cost with inflation? Well, there's 24 cards in here. So with inflation, this should cost $3. And so there's more. There's 40 cards in here. So what should this cost? $5 or $6. Oh my God, that's a huge difference between what it actually costs you at the store and what it's actually worth. This box is only worth $6, and yet you're being ripped off by the manufacturers. And that's the point, is that the hobby's flipped. We're overpaying at the beginning, therefore what can it be worth on the back end? And that's the piece. The 1952 Topps card, okay, so the Mantle, when it first was released, it was 1 cent. Hear me. It was worth 1 cent. So the trajectory from 1 cent to 1990 was already huge. From a cent to $50,000 is crazy. And that's the piece. You can't go from this box, which is $40, to what? Like 40,000? You got to be kidding me. These things are overprinted. And that's the thing that most people in this hobby are not hearing. They're not hearing, oh, we have an overprinting problem again. And even with the junk slab issue, there's more than 3 copies of a PSA 10 of all of your modern cards. There's more. The 1955 Topps Sandy Koufax is not worth $1.5 million, even though there's only 3 PSA 10s. So the pop count isn't the issue. Waiting 40 years isn't the issue. So what is the issue? For those of you who are new here, my name is Doc, and I've been a 40-year collector. I'm a former sports journalist, and I am also a recovering card hoarder. And if you've seen my Instagram series, Keep It or Sell It, keep it or sell it. I need your help to tell me whether I should keep or sell this Jose Canseco bat. This is the actual bat that he used to use in the majors, the Worth baseball bat. And if you're new here, this is a new series called Keep It or Sell It, where I ask you to help me decide whether I should keep this or sell it, because I'm a recovering card hoarder. And over the last decade, I have sold 7 million items, and I still have way too much to go. So I need your help, because I have difficulty deciding what I should keep and what I should sell. So what do you think? Should I get rid of this Jose Canseco bat or not? Put your answer in the comments below. I have something to show you. Here you go. Should I keep it or sell it? This is a uncut, and it's it's sealed, so I can't be able to show it to you. But this is Star 1987, okay? Don Mattingly. These are all special edition, inserts, I guess you could call them, but they're sealed, and they've been sealed since 87. So should I keep it or sell it? What do you guys think? Anyway, the whole point of this channel is to really talk about these issues at a much deeper level. There's a lot of money being thrown around, and the issue becomes, should you spend this kind of money on these cards? Like, should you spend thousands of dollars on a downtown? Should you spend thousands of dollars on an uptown? What about the case hits? What about the numbered and patch cards and the RPAs? The problem becomes that you don't really know what you're buying anymore. And I know that makes people very upset because of the fact that it's like, well, I know what I'm doing. Don't tell me I don't know. And it's like, well, let's be real here. Like, none of us know what we're doing anymore. The hobby is completely gone crazy. And like I said, it's been flipped. We're spending too much money at the front end of a player's career. Therefore, the Hall of Fame is already baked in. So if you're spending thousands and thousands of dollars, like I've seen the first Bowman for Juan Soto, the autograph. First Bowman autograph for Juan Soto, PSA 10, it's worth somewhere around $25,000 to $30,000. The problem is that he's already got that price baked in, that he's going to Hall of Fame. He's a generational talent, end of story. Okay, well, it's worth $30,000 today. What do you think it's going to be worth in 40 years from now? Like, do you honestly believe that when there's hundreds of PSA 10s that it's going to be worth $3 million? I don't think so. That's not happening. Maybe it'll be worth $300,000. Maybe. I really don't even see that happening. I think possibly it could maybe get to 100,000 in 40 years, which means you double your profit, but that means you got to wait. Like, you tie up $30,000 to get 100. Like, it's crazy. Like, you're not making the kind of multiple anymore. And that's because the prices are too expensive at the front end. And that's the problem. That's it. That's all we need to understand. So when you're looking at these cards, honestly, what you should be looking for are cards of players that are going to be generational because, again, we have the same issue. Nobody's going to want Sam Darnold cards. He just won the Super Bowl. Nobody wants him. The best player in hockey happens to be Matthew Tkachuk. He's won 2 Stanley Cups, but his prices are nowhere near Connor McDavid prices. And Connor McDavid hasn't won a cup yet. So, like, the hobby doesn't work the way, like, it should work if we were using stats and analytics and we were actually looking at the hobby from a honest perspective. The hobby goes on psychology. That is it. It's whatever people want, and what people want is kind of like out there. Nobody knows what people want. And people's tastes change. 3 years ago, nobody wanted Shohei Ohtani. Now everybody wants Shohei Ohtani. So what does that mean? You know, Kyle Raleigh is the greatest catcher maybe in the history of baseball. But nobody's going to want Cal Raleigh unless he puts up another 50 homers. But even though he might go to the Hall of Fame, again, unless you become, like, you break through the noise and you get all of the attention, your prices don't go up. And that's the problem. And one of the things that is now becoming an issue, especially with vintage cards, is that kids don't know vintage cards. So what are vintage values going to be in the future? All of these things are, I think, coming to a head because over the next 50 years, things are going to change. And I probably won't be around to see what those changes are, but I can do my best at predicting them, and people can come back and watch these videos a year, 2 years, and 3 years from now and kind of be like, well, you know what? I think Doc was right. How did he know that that was what was going to happen? And that's the piece. There are certain cards that are going to be high-end cards no matter what time frame. So today, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, these are the high-end cards, and they will be high-end cards for the rest of time. The problem is all the other cards. So I've already divided the hobby into 2 categories. You have high-end cards, which is what the newsletter is all about, and then you have everything else cards. And most cards are everything else cards, like these 1990 cards, which again was part of the junk wax era. So you got a Dennis Eckersley, here's a Jose Canseco, and you've got a Mark McGwire. Okay, these cards are not worth anything. Why? Because they're junk wax. And if you have junk wax cards, and I see a lot of people, I just set up as a dealer at a show, and I had a bunch of people come to me with binders, and they were all junk wax cards, and they're like, give me $20 for the whole binder. It was like several hundred cards. And I'm like, I'm not giving you $20 for the whole binder. There's nothing in here. There's nothing in here. So it's not even worth $20. They're all commons, and commons are not even worth 1 cent. And I know people get upset about that because it's like, but they have some value. And it's like, not everything else cards. High-end cards have real value. Everything else is just sort of, if you're a collector, you might spend 25 cents or 50 cents on a common because you need it. Maybe you're building a set. Unfortunately, in the junk wax era and today, you don't need to build sets. They already put out a complete set at the end of the season, which I think is stupid. I think Fanatics should end the complete set because then at least you need to buy wax because then you can build sets on your own. It would be in keeping with Pokemon. Pokemon's all about collect them all. They don't make a complete set of Pokemon. And yet the people at Topps don't seem to have a brain. You guys can argue with me all you want. Put it down below. Do you think the people at Topps know what they're doing or not? I don't think so. Personally, I think they're a bunch of idiots. And again, I'm open to hearing your suggestions. So anyway, that's what I believe. I believe that the Topps should stop doing a complete set. Therefore, you have to build sets if that's what you want to do. And that's what the hobby used to be built on, is people building sets. Most people started with the 53 set, then they went to 54, 55, 56, 57, and so on. But in 1980s, they started printing complete sets at the end of the season, and that just ended the whole point of collecting them all. You could just buy it once and you're done. Now, that also means that they inflated the print counts of every single card. And Upper Deck made it even worse because they put out complete sets after they'd already printed like 3 million Ken Griffey rookies. So they put out another 1 million in the complete sets, and so that's why that card is just everywhere. I mean, you can't go to a card show without seeing a Ken Griffey 1989 Upper Deck rookie card. You just can't. Like, it's everywhere. And so that's the piece. Which cards are going to be worth the most in the future? If you want to know the answer to that question, go subscribe to the Substack High-End Cards, and that's what I'm answering over there. If you want to know more about the hobby and ask questions, that's what this channel is all about. I want to thank you for joining me, and this is Doc saying, I'll see you